Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Alena Haddley and I am the lecturer at the mathematics department at the University of Liverpool. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to speak at today. So today I would like to share with you how I use flipped classroom approach in a large undergraduate statistics module. So the module in question is called Statistics and Probability 1, and it is compulsory year 2 module on all large programs in our department. As a result of this being compulsory module, it has lots of students. So typically it has 300 to 500 students. So before pandemic, we were hitting more than 500 students in this module. Now post-pandemic is more than 300 students. So this module covers standard concepts of hypothesis testing. It covers all standard statistical tests like z-test, t-tests, ANOVA, simple linear regression, and non-parametric tests. I'm a module leader of this module, and I deliver this module using flipped classroom approach, which is the approach where students gain knowledge independently outside of the class. And then in class, the students revise, practice, consolidate, and further develop knowledge with my guidance. So important part of flipped classroom is the resources students access before the class and they study independently. So in this module, I developed online resources on Mobius platform and they're in the form of digital textbook. So students are expected to study these resources and to go through the resources before attending face-to-face classes. And then there are a few types of face-to-face classes. So we have 2 hours of active learning sessions every week. So in odd weeks, we have Poll Everywhere sessions. In even weeks, we have our computer sessions. And also there's another type of face-to-face hours which are supported study sessions. So first, I would like to now talk more about the interactive digital textbook, which forms an important part of the flipped learning. And then I would like to talk more details about these different types of face-to-face sessions and what happens during these sessions. So first, I would like to now show you the digital textbook on Mobius. So I believe now you should be able to see the Mobius. Can you see it? Yeah, okay, thank you. You can see that we have different units here on the left, and we can navigate between different units. With every unit, there is in brackets indicating number of weeks, that is the week at which the students should study the material. So first 2 chapters should be studied in week 1, then chapters 3 and 4 in week 2, and so on. So if we go to unit, each unit consists of few lessons, and the progress of the lessons is indicated by these squares. So like the yellow square with the arrow indicates it's in progress. The green tick means that it's completed. So I would like to now go into the lesson and show you specifically what it looks like. So we can see that all of this is now split into like smaller pages. where students just navigate, and you can see that all of this is like the combination of text, videos, some examples, and then there I will show you also the quiz. So I tried to color code the lessons to break it up a bit. So like in green boxes, I put like important theory and facts. In blue boxes, I am discussing examples. And then there is like this box, which has a white background, but has this greenish box, which is usually where I put like longer derivations and proofs. So in between the text, there are relevant videos. So there are a few types of videos. Some videos explain concepts and main ideas. Some videos explains proofs or show details of the proofs or derivations, and some videos show examples. So this is example of videos which shows derivation of this confidence interval. So students go through all available text and videos. Here is another video. I would like to say about videos, I try to make the videos short and chunked. So they're usually between 5 and 10 minutes long, because that's what students prefer. Students prefer shorter videos. And then after studying and reviewing all of this information, students can test their knowledge straight away using these small formative quizzes. So here is an example of the quiz. So they have a question, they input the answer. So I'm just gonna demonstrate. It will be wrong, I'm sure. And then with how did I do, they can check whether they answered correctly or not. So here they're both incorrect. And if they hover over it, it gives them correct answer. And then below, they've got immediate feedback, which show them details of the calculation, how they should have arrived at the result. So all of these quizzes are randomly generated. And so if I press try another, you can see that sigma score is 79. If I do try another, it will generate another example with different parameters. So all of these parameters, sigma squared, the sample size, the sample mean, the type of confidence interval, they all change. So students can try these quizzes as many times as they want, every time with different sets of parameters. They can do it as many times as they want until they're confident with the material. Okay, so I would like to show you also another lesson. So here is a lesson about t-tests. So again, there are some important facts and procedures how to perform the t-tests. There is shown example. There is another video which discuss another example. And then after going through all that, the students can try the quiz. So here, what I would like to point out here, what I'm doing here, I'm scaffolding the example into smaller parts. So here's the question where students have to perform a t-test. So first they are asked about what's the null hypothesis, what's the alternative hypothesis, then what t-distribution we use in this case, what is the value of test statistics. Then they have to decide at what significance level they can reject or cannot reject null hypothesis. And then they make the final practical interpretation by filling in these choices. So again, if the students press how did I do, it gave them whether they were wrong or correct. And here is the feedback where they can see all the steps and details of the calculations they should have done. And again, if they do try another, they will get different sets of parameters. So the hypothesized mean change, the X-bar changes, sample standard deviation change. And again, they can try as many times as they want until they're confident that they're able to do it. So that way they can really practice the hypothesis testing. And with the scaffolding, I'm trying to ensure that they remember all important steps of hypothesis testing students need to do. And so this is the interactive digital textbook. So as I said, we use Mobius platform in Liverpool. So that's where I did all of these. So feedback on this online resource, student feedback is really positive. So students say that the material is very well presented, it is very clearly laid out, it's well organized, and students find the small formative quizzes very beneficial and invaluable for their learning. Okay, so this is what I wanted to tell you or show you about the interactive classroom. And now we should be back to the slides. I hope we are back to the slides. So as I said, after students going through the online resources, after they go through the this interactive digital textbook, they have the active learning sessions. So in odd weeks, we have Poll Everywhere sessions. So these are 2-hour sessions where I guide students through the questions Poll Everywhere. So Poll Everywhere is online polling system which students access with their phones and they answer the questions on their phones. So what I usually do, I have first 4 or 5 questions to recap theory of that week, which is important for the session. And then students work through the examples with my guidance. And again, the examples are scaffolded. So here we also discuss some more difficult, more complex examples. So for example, sometimes we discuss what are the assumptions of the tests and how we can test for them. And after every Poll Everywhere question, I provide students with the immediate feedback. Okay, so I would like now to show you quickly some Poll Everywhere questions, just quick examples. I hope you can see Poll Everywhere now. The question, can you see it? I hope so, yeah, great, thank you. So here is an example of like quick recap theory question where I ask them what is the rejection rule for this particular alternative where mu is less than mu0. So I give students questions, then wait for them to respond on their phones. So after like majority of students in the class are finished, I reveal their responses and then I reveal the correct question. And I briefly discussed why the other options were incorrect. So in this particular question, it's quite good because I discuss what every option would be correct for what situation of alternative hypothesis. So in this question, this is about type 2 error. So again, I would give them time, then reveal responses of the class, show correct response, and again, discuss briefly why the other options are incorrect. And this case, I will always discuss with them what the other options are. Some of them are type 1 error, the other one are correct decisions. I also recap with them what is the probability of type 1 error, of type 2 error, and what the power is. So after these few recap questions, we go to example questions. So again, as I mentioned, again, I'm scaffolding the questions, splitting them into smaller parts, stressing the different steps of hypothesis testing. So here's a question. And again, they need to choose what their null and alternative hypothesis. Then I'm asking whether we would perform a z-test or t-test in this situation. What's the value of the test statistic? So these are now computational questions. So it usually takes them time to find the answer. So after computational questions, I show them briefly solutions and discuss the solution briefly. So like here, I'll show them what formula they should use and what they should get. So one more question I would like to show you is about asking about the interval where the p-value of the test would be. So this is another example of quite longer questions because now they have to use the tables to decide the range. So I would like to say that sometimes it's a bit difficult to get the pace of these sessions right, especially with these longer computational questions. Some students may finish earlier compared to other students. So if this happens, I always try to give the students who finished early some small follow-up questions, which is sometimes a bit more challenging to give them to think about something else. So for example, in this case, I would ask them, can you find the exact p-value? How would you calculate the exact p-value? And then hopefully they can think about it instead of waiting around for the other students to finish. Okay, so this is about the Poll Everywhere sessions. So as I said, I expect students to be prepared for these Poll Everywhere sessions, and that is where we further consolidate and develop the knowledge they learned in online learning. So then another type of the session, which is in even weeks, is computer session. So the Poll Everywhere quiz I showed you was example of week 3 session. So in week 4 session, we have then computer sessions, and they basically learn how to use the test and t-tests using R. So again, these are 2-hour sessions in a computer room. I provide students with tutorial sheets, and they are expected to work through these sheets independently in this computer room during these 2 hours. So in the tutorial sheets, I explain some commands or tell them what commands to use, and they need to use these commands to solve problems on the tutorial sheet. I also created videos which explain some commands and codes in R, so they can have a look at that as well to help them to solve the problems on tutorial sheet. Again, on these tutorial sheets, I'm trying to ask also more complex questions, a bit more challenging questions, where they need to discuss also the assumption used and also test the assumptions using R. And what consequences of these assumptions are for the tests they perform. So these classes are supported by teaching assistants. So students go through their work, and if they're stuck, if they're struggling, they can ask me or the teaching assistants straight away. Okay, so these Poll Everywhere sessions and computer sessions are active learning sessions, and then we also have so-called supported study sessions, which run every week, and they're optional 2-hour sessions in a drop-in style, which means that students can come to these sessions at any time they want. So the purpose of these sessions is the students can study the material, discuss with their peers, and ask any questions. Again, these are supported by teaching assistants, so students can ask me or teaching assistants if they struggle with anything. So because these are optional sessions, they're not usually very well attended, but I think they're still important part of this flipped learning, because even if the students don't attend, they still have these 2-hour scheduled sessions, which they can devote to studying. I think it's really important to have this space where students can study and discuss with their peers. This is the sessions where they prepare for the active learning sessions, and where they can ask any questions if they're struggling with anything. So they really have this one-to-one help, which is very valuable help. And so it is really important to have during the flipped classroom approach. So this is the structure of the module. So also briefly tell you what's the assessment strategy of this module. So there are 2 online classes on Mobius, which are worth 25% module of the module mark. So the questions here, because they're on Mobius, so they're in the same style as formative quizzes in online learning. So students are already used to the format of this assessment. I usually ask about mainly basic concepts, some routine calculations, and these questions also assess R. So some of the questions on Mobius, I give them data. They have to copy them into Excel, load it into R, and then answer the question using R, and then input into Mobius the values they got in R. So these 2 classes are during semester, and then in the end, during exam period, they've got final written exam, and this exam mainly focuses on assessing higher order skill, some more complex questions. So what's the feedback from students about this structure of the module? So students' feedback is generally positive. The majority of students are satisfied with this delivery approach and satisfied with the module structure. Some students really love this flipped approach. However, there is a small number of students who prefer more traditional approaches, but it seems like these students are in minority. And considering such a large class size, there always will be students who will prefer something else, whatever I do. But I think that this flipped approach really works for this module, and it is really efficient. And we use these frameworks when we have 2 hours of active learning session a week and 2 hours of supported study session in all flipped modules in Liverpool. We have flipped classroom framework 2+2, which we used for flipped classroom modules. So thank you for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions. And Michael already mentioned at the beginning, reminding you of Kettle MSOR. So it's held at the University of Liverpool this year, and just reminding you some deadlines. So if you are thinking of giving a talk, please don't forget to submit abstract, because the deadline for this is approaching. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Alena. I think real and virtual round of applause there for a great overview that's generated quite a lot of discussion, some really nice positive comments in there, and a few questions that I'll now pick up on in the Q&A if that's okay. I think the first couple are related, and they relate to the kind of the poll everywhere software. So is this something that Liverpool kind of purchases a subscription for?
Yes. So University of Liverpool have full university subscription for Poll Everywhere. So quite a few modules in math department are using it in different forms. And it is very successful among students. So students really like Poll Everywhere, and they find it very engaging, and it really helps with engagement as well. And it is very helpful and valuable for revising and consolidating student knowledge. So they find it really beneficial.
So that perhaps kind of answers the second one, which was the reasons for choosing that over, for example, something like Mentimeter. Was it purely because that's the Liverpool tool?
Yeah, so it was one of the reasons, but at the time when I developed these Poll Everywhere sessions, it was, I think, one of the few which allowed LaTeX. So that's why I also decided to use that one, and then University of Liverpool acquired the license, so it was a done deal for me to use Poll Everywhere.
Yeah, so it's sometimes nice when those things come
Yeah.
together. There's one from Anna Baker who comments on some impressive resources, which I think we all share. It's about the quiz setup within Mobius. So do you kind of set up the quizzes directly within Mobius, or do you set them up externally and then embed them? And I think there's kind of questions about that process in terms of how much time that quiz aspect takes and whether it requires any specialist knowledge. So perhaps you could talk us a little bit through that, if that were okay.
Yeah, so it is directly in Mobius. So Mobius uses the Maple backend. So whoever codes the quizzes needs to have some knowledge of coding in Maple. So in Liverpool, because we use Mobius a lot, so we have a team of academics who are experts in Maple and Mobius coding. So if a lecturer wants to have Mobius quiz, they design it and then go to the Mobius coders and say, can you please code this? So I didn't code the quizzes myself. I had another members of staff who helped with that, but I created all the other resources. So I created all the text or the videos, and then we imported the coded quiz into it. So it was quite a big amount of effort to put it all together because there are lots of quizzes. It took enormous amount of time, but in the end, this time you invest in the beginning on. So at the beginning, you have to really invest lots of time. But then in the end, it's all there ready for you. Every year, you just make some minor edits or tweaks, and you can keep, making the resource better and better. But you don't already have that crazy amount of work going into it. And you've got it basically already, and then for the future years it really pays off the initial investment in time, and it is really great and valuable resource for students.
So just on that, there's kind of a couple of things I'm seeing coming through the chat that presumably you've outlined a really kind of nice approach here. But if people wanted to use something other than Mobius, you could kind of bring Stack into this.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different kind of free platforms, because I think Mobius is a paid for service.
Yeah, it is paid for service. So University of Liverpool pays license for that. Again, we have subscription, but I'm sure you can do something similar like that, like to embed all resources in combination with quizzes with other platforms which are not paid, like you mentioned, Stack. So you could use the same approach as well, where you have everything in one place, resources embedded with videos, embedded with short formative quizzes. And it just creates one nice, neat resource where everything is in one place.
Brilliant. And sort of shout out for Stack, also shout out for colleagues from Newcastle with numbers as well.
Yeah.
Two more questions, and then I think we'll take a quick 5 minutes before moving to Claire. The inevitable question about online quizzes and ChatGPT, other forms of a generative AI tool are of course available. how do you deal with that, or how do you try and mitigate that one, Alana?
So I've been using this approach for 5 years. So I've started using it well before
Mm,
before AI came into play. But I think it is so when I do the online quizzes, so every student has different set of data, so that mitigates the collaboration, among students. But with respect to using generative AI, it's difficult. So it is time limited assessment. So there is this time limitation element in it. But then with respect to generative AI, I was trying to think how to mitigate it. It wasn't very successful so far, but in the end, I look at it in a way that if students use generative AI for something like this, they are only robbing themselves,
mm,
because they're robbing themselves of the learning opportunity, because these online tests will give them some sort of diagnostic test to see whether they can do those tests, whether they can do the material in preparation for the final exam. So if they just use generative AI, they cannot see whether they can do it, and then they won't do well in the final exams. So I view it that they're robbing themselves of this learning opportunity, and it's their responsibility to take, this learning seriously and not use generative AI. Also, if they use generative AI, they do badly in the final, and they won't perform very well overall in the module. So again, they're robbing themselves of better marks. But I'm still trying to figure out what to do, but it is a really difficult situation, I'm sure, for everyone.
Yeah, but I think you've highlighted it really, really well there, that the narrative sort of has moved on now, that what you're kind of doing is very much a sort of a scaffolded approach to help students learn. And your response is quite right, isn't it? That if you use this, you're just shortcutting your learning, short-term gain for long-term pain. And I think it's about that narrative that goes to the students. And I think we have to remember that we cannot necessarily mitigate everything. But
Yeah,
there's a role of educating the students that I think you've really highlighted.
yeah.
I think, Alana, you may have frozen. I'm going to ask this final question and then we'll take a break, but you may not be with us. Um, if you're there, oh, you're back. The final question, the proportion of students who attend the optional session, so other colleagues are sort of thinking about doing something similar. What's the uptake of the optional sessions that you offer in terms of student participation?
So the supported study session, so at the beginning of the semester, it's quite good. It's like sometimes like 40%. But as the semester progresses, the attendance drops out every week. So I think towards the end, it may be like 10%, or maybe less. But again, it's optional. It's for students to decide how they use these 2 hours. And some students really come to the sessions and discuss with others, discuss with me, and really learn it. Some students may not come to the sessions, but learn in a library with other students or at home. So I think you shouldn't be discouraged if students don't come, because they still use these hours somehow, hopefully, for learning. So again, it is up to them how they use their learning, in what way. But I think it is a really important part to have these sessions, to have this one-to-one help, and to get them help if they need it and as they need it.
Yeah, I think again that's a really nice sort of summary, isn't it? That it's about the message that the support is available and it's there for
Yeah,
them, even if they don't choose to take it. But for many students, they choose to learn in different ways. It's not that they're not engaging.
exactly.
It's that
Yeah,
variety that you've spoken about. And I think the approach that you've got, Alana, talks about, there's lots of variety in how students can be supported. and that's really quite important.
Yes.
Right. I think that was brilliant, and thanks for being so generous with your time on the questions as well. Again, another real and virtual round of applause.
Thank you very
What
much.